Us. We welcome to the program now Joel and Natasha from America's Roundtable Radio, co-founder of International Leaders Summit. Hey, Natasha, Joel, good to see you guys.
Great to see you, Gilbert.
Thank you so much indeed, Gerard. Great to be with you all.
Gerard.
You bet. You bet. So a lot of controversy up there in Washington this week with the removal of Kevin McCarthy as the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. And I guess the question is, where do we go from here, Joel?
Well, it's certainly been a very difficult season here up on Capitol Hill. There appears to be a state of dysfunction in governance. The good news is that the Republicans are gathering together and working out the next steps, and it appears that a few actually good leaders are stepping forward, including Jim Jordan from the state of Ohio. And this past week, so-called Republicans, 8 of them, together with 208 Democrats, ousted a remarkable leader. I would say that's, Kevin McCarthy certainly did a great job in bringing together a very disparate group of Republicans and charted a very important path. And he certainly received a great deal of praise and commendation, even from former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich.
Yeah. My larger concern, honestly, Joel, is that I don't really care who the speaker is. It shouldn't matter that much, I think, is the point, because this body passes legislation. Now, I understand they have a fair amount of power on just the flow of measures through the chamber and, of course, appointments. But in general, when you look at our most pressing issues, I'm more interested in somebody putting forth a plan to address those issues. I don't care who it comes from, whether it's the speaker or a member or what. And I just don't see that coming out of the 8 Republicans who voted to oust the speaker. And the Democrats have a plan that, in general, I don't agree with.
Exactly, Gerard. You're so right about it. It seems that members of Congress, specifically these 8 Republicans, certainly put their personal ambitions in front of good governance and doing the work that Americans have been focused on. I mean, there's serious problems. We have a border crisis that is a major issue. We have a national debt that is out of control. We've got other concerns about American taxpayer aid going to Ukraine without important oversight. So yes, the American people are frustrated and they need, principled leadership and for members of Congress sent to Congress to get the work done.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So, Natasha, one of the things that has really been batted around quite a bit in Washington is this enormous amount of money that we're shipping over to Ukraine. And one of the things that I've said here on the program that I think Americans might be more amenable to this idea if they had a better understanding from their government. How do we benefit from this? Where's this money going? Nobody can seem to give us a full accounting of it. And then what's in it for us here?
Right, exactly. What you mentioned, basically, we need more accountability and transparency. We need to account for every dollar spent in Ukraine. Obviously, we came to aid Ukraine against Russia's invasion, so the money should be spent for military aid exclusively and only. And as we move on and see what's going to transpire next, we can think about any aid based on corruption, anti-corruption measures that are put in place in the country. So the problem that we see in entire Eastern Europe as well as in Ukraine is that there is corruption that hasn't been dealt with. And when we send our hard-earned U.S. taxpayers' money, these countries receive our money for infrastructure. They receive money laundered by tycoons that coming from Russia, that are coming from Nigeria, via Liechtenstein, Austria, other countries. So basically, they do not need private investments that are based on profits. because
Yeah.
they live off the bribes that they receive from laundered money, or they actually live off our infrastructure. We build it and we can't invest after that. So our trade and investments are going down. Rogue states are coming in, and we are exacerbating corruption in those countries. So, therefore, as you said, we need to account for every dollar spent in Ukraine at this moment. It has to go for military aid only. And as we transition to new, hopefully soon, to a peaceful time, we have to see how we can, help, not help, but how we can invest our, through private investments, through other sources in a market economy that is based on the rule of law and protection of property rights, not
Yeah.
as a
I,
government, but as
I,
private endeavors.
totally agree. And, I think most Americans share these concerns about other countries that we send American tax dollars to, that we certainly get upset in our country about corruption within our political world. And certainly it exists. But honestly, it's nothing compared to what goes on abroad, in my view. And in many of those countries we're sending money to, and I just feel like that a lot of times it ends up in the hands it wasn't intended to be in.
Exactly. That's so true, Gerard. In fact, we have serious crisis within the United States. We've got issues of infrastructure. There was a great concern about the cost of healthcare in our country. The border is not secure, and we're concerned about the NATO borders. We're concerned
Yeah.
about Eastern Europe, and a great number of these countries don't even respect the rule of law in these countries. The politicians don't. So we're sending out taxpayer aid to bolster security in countries that don't even respect the rule of law, just like Croatia. Congressman Doug Lamborn sent a letter to Croatia's prime minister and also Secretary Blinken, calling for accountability. So here's a country, Croatia, a NATO member and the only EU member state that is now on the FATF's money laundering and terrorism financing list, and it'd be alarming to everyone. Each member
Yeah.
of Congress, whether in the state of Mississippi or Michigan or everywhere across the country, should be asking questions: what's going on with the EU and NATO member being on the money laundering and terrorism financing list? And it's becoming a hub for money laundering. So yes, we need to be more, careful without taxpayer aid and money going to the World Bank and the EBRD, the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, which America is a major supporter of. It's time for greater accountability, and these politicians on the other side in Eastern Europe need to come up with answers.
And it's
I
interesting
totally
to
agree.
mention, Gerard, that recently, just a few weeks ago, so instead of answering the questions that were posed by U.S. Congressman Lamborn, President of Croatia is visiting Biloxi in
Saw that.
Mississippi, and we have actually to involve Senator Wicker, who is representing Mississippi in the Senate, in Helsinki Commission hearing, because if we want to address the issues that are going to be coming up in Ukraine, that's the next, basically what we're working on now. It's coming up in Ukraine. The same questions: why are you taking U.S. taxpayers' money while blocking American private investments? Because it's never in their interest to receive investments that are not paying any bribes. And
Totally.
American companies don't pay bribes.
Man, yeah, exactly. And it's almost a way of business, as you guys know, in some of those countries. In fact, it's the only way you can get business done in some of those countries. Joel, wanted to talk to you about our border situation. We have a shocking, honestly, announcement out of the Biden administration where Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas says, hey, I think we need a border wall at the southern border, at least in certain sections of the border. What's up with that?
It's amazing when you think about what at that time, candidate Biden said in August 2020. And he basically made an announcement to the world by saying, listen, if you need and seek political asylum, come to America. And we're going to open the borders. We're going to get you all in. And interestingly enough, after nearly 3 years of seeing this surge of illegal individuals, and Natasha and I have talked about it, the term that we call individuals entering illegally is illegal immigrants. But in all sincerity, they are breaking the law by coming in. They're not immigrants. They're illegal individuals trespassing and moving into our country. And for the first time in 3 years, Secretary Mayorkas admits that there is a problem. And
Unbelievable.
even as they work on this issue here, this is just a Band-Aid approach to the greater problem. The message should be sent to all of these countries that are sending their people to the United States. Listen, if you're going to send your folks over here, we're going to charge you for sending them back to your countries. Because this is not about political asylum. This is about individuals coming here because these countries haven't dealt with the problems from within.
Totally agree. Joel, Natasha, always a pleasure visiting with you guys. Thanks so much for your insight and all of your work on these important issues. We'll talk soon. Thanks.
Thank you so much,
Gerard.
We're coming right back with more, folks, in the Element Wealth studio.